President Biden is promising to send critical supplies to India as that country faces what officials call a COVID tsunami. India reported nearly 350,000 new cases and more than 2,700 deaths in just 24 hours on Sunday. Now there are new concerns that a variant could emerge from India that's resistant to vaccines. Foreign correspondent James Longman has the latest.
Scenes of desperation across India this morning as the country faces the world's deadliest surge of COVID. Inside, hospitals overwhelmed by the sick. Outside, patients lining sidewalks begging for oxygen. The situation is so dire that train coaches are now being transformed into makeshift isolation units. And as the daily death toll hits new records, scenes like these, streets turned into massive crematoriums. In the nation's capital of Delhi, doctors are drowning, hit by what they call a tsunami of a second wave. Now, calls are growing for the U.S. to act. The Biden administration announcing plans to send PPE and raw materials to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines. But health experts say the United States should be doing more.
We are sitting on a lot of vaccines that we don't need in this country. And I'm hoping the U.S. government is going to ship those vaccines to India because it could be very, very useful in India.
And as India races against time to contain the spread, the threat of new variants is growing.
Of course, the big fear is the rise of a variant, the emergence of a variant that renders our vaccines useless.
And James Longman is live in London with more on all of this. James, we've seen surges like this in other parts of the world lead to more contagious variants. So what do we know about the strain in India right now, and how did things get so bad there?
Well, Diane, the great tragedy in all this is that it was totally avoidable, and we know that because India did avoid it last year. They enacted a very strict lockdown. And so I think what's happened, there are a few things going on here, but one of them is overconfidence in being able to beat COVID. There was some research done which suggested that over half of the Indian population had contracted some kind of COVID-19 infection. They didn't have bad symptoms, but they had achieved immunity. And that is what led officials partly in India to allow activities to restart earlier this year. So we saw the resumption of things like weddings. A lot of people go to weddings in India. Election rallies, massive religious gatherings. There's one in the north, a Hindu festival in the north, the largest religious gathering in the world, takes place every year. 14 million people go to it. That happened. So what we saw was a resumption of these activities and then the swirling of these new variants, because as we know, when COVID-19 is allowed to exist in a population, that is when it mutates, and that's when new variants come about. So it was that overconfidence, that reopening of the country and these new variants that have led to this catastrophic turn of events that we're currently seeing play out in India.
President Biden, he's pledging to help. He says, and I quote here, just as India sent assistance to the United States as our hospitals were strained early in the pandemic, we're determined to help India in its time of need. But as we heard, some are saying that what the U.S. is doing is not enough. So what kind of help are we providing, and what does India really need right now?
Well, we've seen pictures of some of the supplies heading over to India, ventilators, therapeutics, rapid test kits. That's something they really need because testing for coronavirus has really slowed down in India. We've seen the black market explode for supplies, things like oxygen tanks. They were $80 before the pandemic. They're now at over $1,000. People are having to fend for themselves. So it's these things that the United States and other countries want to replug into India to enable the country to function again. But vaccines is the big question. The United States is sending raw materials to make Covishield, which is their version of the AstraZeneca vaccine. But a lot of people are saying, just send them the ready-made doses. Had a report today, for example, that in the Netherlands, 11 million AstraZeneca doses will go unused because of various different issues that the Dutch had with AstraZeneca and unwillingness of people to take it. They're now going to use other kinds of vaccines. That's fine. That's their decision. But extraordinarily, those 11 million are going to go unused. And that may happen in other parts of the world. But there is no other country that has more doses in its stock currently than the United States. And people are calling on America to send actual vaccines to India to try to help.
Got it. James Longman, thanks for that. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.